Now, I love my fantasy stories and I love my coffee, but to be honest, when I read the synopsis of Legends and Lattes, I was a bit skeptical. This whole idea of a retired orc mercenary wanting to open a coffee shop in a town set in a fantasy world did not sound appealing to me at all. Now, this book falls under a subgenre of fantasy called cozy fantasy. Now, I don't think it's the first of its kind, but it definitely helped spark a new wave of interest in the reading community. This book was advertised as low stakes, high fantasy, and the reviews I've seen led me to believe this was some wholesome, family-friendly type of story. So when I read the prologue, I was wondering if I was reading the correct book. It started off pretty dark, bloody, and violent, which I normally don't mind, but it kinda threw me off my expectation. The rest of the story didn't follow this tone. I guess it started off this way to contrast the brutal life of our main protagonist then to how it is now in the present. What surprised me even more was how enjoyable this simple little slice of life tale turned out to be and how it really resonated with me. As someone who used to work in the food service industry, I could relate to all the challenges our main character faced. And despite this being labeled as a cozy fantasy, that line of work is far from it. There's a strong theme here of striving to work towards your life's passion. Viv, who's our main character, was clearly unhappy being this brute force of a warrior, even though she was very good at her profession. It just goes to show that there's sometimes more in life than what we see in front of us. It also shows how the smallest spark of inspiration can be life-changing, whether it be from drinking coffee or reading a book. I think it's these strong inspirational themes that really drew me into the story. Viv lives in this fantasy world where nobody really knows what coffee is, and her main challenge is trying to get people to notice her product. And as a new content creator, I can relate to the struggle of getting people to notice what you put out. And it's just a really fun read. I really love this world that Travis Baldree built. There's a lot of different races. There's elves, there's gnomes, there's orcs, and these like humanoid rats called ratkins. And there are some antagonists, of course, and there are some stakes, but nothing in the level where the world isn't a threat of being destroyed, which is actually a breath of fresh air. By the time I got to the end of the story, I was sad that it was over so quick. I finished the book in about 2 days, and within that time period, it had me craving and drinking so much coffee, I nearly caught caffeine poisoning. Thankfully, my edition of Legends and Lattes came with a 30-page prequel story that shows Viv in one of her mercenary missions. It's very different in tone, similar to how the prologue was. It has some fast-paced action that we didn't see in the main story, and is also a bit violent. I could see this book being an acquired taste, and not everyone's cup of tea or coffee, but for me, it is an acquired taste that I didn't know I already had. I think Legends and Lattes does for books what Animal Crossing did for video games, being a fun, relaxing experience. And ironically, towards the end of the book, it gives some of Travis Baldree's career credits. He's a well-known audiobook narrator, as well as a video game designer, which I found pretty interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed Legends and Lattes. It surpassed all my expectations and just kind of hit me out of nowhere. I give it an easy 5 out of 5 bookmarks. I am looking forward to reading more work from Travis Baldree. And that's all I got for today. Hit that like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next page.